You feel like you have to ask them. You're gonna find this funny, but when we got engaged, looking back, I feel like I didn't need a wedding planner. Good afternoon, guys. If you didn't know, my name is Andrea, and this year in September, my partner and I are gonna get married. I'm really looking forward to it, and as it's almost 6 months left until then, I'm trying to sort everything out, and I'm gonna try to share as much as possible of this process going forward. So if you're interested in that content, remember to subscribe to my channel, because yeah, we've got a lot going on this year, and I'm planning on sharing a lot more wedding stuff, and we're planning on buying a house hopefully after the wedding, so we'll see how that works out. But today I want to talk to you about the wedding planning regrets I've had so far. Anyway, I've got everything on my phone, so I'm gonna be reading all of the things that I wrote down for this video. So these are wedding planning regrets, as I said, and don't get me wrong, you can't do everything perfect, and this is just my regrets. You could find some of these things will help you, or you will really enjoy it, or you wouldn't go without. But these are my points. First point that I have on my list is the fact that we didn't take more time to make important decisions. And by we, I mean me. I am very impatient when it comes to planning and organizing, and I love planning, organizing, budgeting, all of these things. I love them, and I love having everything sorted. And so when we got engaged, you're gonna find this funny, but when we got engaged, we literally got back to the car. We got in the car, messaged everyone, sent a picture of like us with the ring to everyone, and told all of our family and friends. And then after that, I kind of sat in the car next to Connor, and I was like, oh my God, let's start planning a wedding. And we were in the car back from the location where he proposed back to my parents' house to celebrate with them. And I was literally like, oh yeah, let's pick a date. We have to tell people like when we're thinking about getting married, and like are we doing it in Italy or are we doing it in England, because I'm from Italy, and we've got half of my family and friends in Italy and half of our family and friends in England. And it was just so much, but I was so on it. I love planning, and I got myself taken away by the fact that we had a wedding to plan, and people were asking us like, when are you thinking of getting married? Where are you gonna get married? And I feel like I wanted to provide already answers to people, and that's why I jumped straight into wedding planning. But definitely, if I could go back in time, I would probably most definitely take my time and not make decisions like that fast, because I feel like sometimes if I could go back in time, I would definitely take my time to pick a date and explore all of our options. Like, I don't regret the date that we picked, and I feel like we thought about a lot of factors and we took a lot into consideration. But I also think that I should have slowed down, and I should have taken every decision slower. So like, I shouldn't have jumped into it straight away. Basically, this is the point. The point is, don't jump into it straight away. I feel like you need to enjoy your engagement more, and you don't want to make rush decisions. My point number 2 is getting a wedding planner. This is a bit, I mean, if you're a wedding planner, don't get upset about this. This is just my opinion from my experience so far. But basically, we decided to get a wedding planner because I said to Connor, like, there is no way that I can live in England and plan a wedding in Italy while living in England, not going over to Italy enough, and not having the contact. And I was like, if you have a wedding planner, they have the contact, they can save you money on things, that she can go and like view these places and do these things for me. And and I can have support because I work full time. We also have a daughter. So I'm looking after my daughter. We have a dog. I'm looking after the house and I work. So do I really have time to plan a wedding? Like full, like almost like non-stop? No, not really. So I thought a wedding planner would definitely be the best thing for us. But now looking back, I feel like I didn't need a wedding planner for the whole process, to be honest. Like all she did so far is literally go out there, find the vendors, or actually she didn't even go out there to look for vendors. She literally just has her own vendors that she uses all the time, and she kind of said to me like, I'm gonna send you these quotes, I'm gonna send you these vendors, and you pick the one that you like most. She sent me like lots of locations, and I had to like narrow it down to 3 or 4 locations, and then when we went back to Italy we went to see these locations. And she did the same thing with photographers and videographers. Like we literally just got this massive list of people that she knows, and she would send me like all the emails with the information and the quotes, and I would have to pick. And I'm not being funny, but I don't really need to be in Italy to be doing that. Like I can go out there myself and get, you know, like send an email to a wedding location in Tuscany and say, you know, hi, can I just have a quote for a wedding on this date? Are you available? I think I could have definitely done that part myself, although I would have definitely probably gotten a wedding planner for the wedding day, or sometimes they do like a package like a month before the wedding. So you tell them all of your vendors, you tell them everything you've done so far, everything you've got, and then they go out and basically come to your wedding and make sure that everything works perfectly on the day. Like I definitely don't want to coordinate my own wedding, but you can just get a wedding coordinator, which is a lot cheaper than getting a wedding planner for the whole process. So yeah, I think if I could go back in time, I would definitely just get a wedding coordinator instead of a wedding planner, because I don't feel like she's planned anything. She's just made me pick what I like, and she's gone out there and found the quotes for me. Another regret I have is making the wedding guest list too quickly. I know that when you speak to wedding planners and locations and caterings, they're gonna ask you how many guests and, you know, like where you want your wedding basically. But how many people is gonna be one of the top questions you get asked when you're looking at planning your wedding. And I felt like I was rushed into making this decision because I had people asking me all the time, like, how many people are coming? How many guests do you have? And I rushed, and me and Connor sat down and wrote a list of all of the people in our lives, family and friends, and we kind of cut it at some point. Like we were like, okay, these family members are too far, and these family members are too far, and these friends we haven't seen for years. So we kind of like did it how we thought it was right to do it. But then further down the line, we realized that because we made the wedding guest list so early on, as the time went on, we were like, oh, we shouldn't have invited them. Oh, we shouldn't have invited him. With some people, we don't even speak anymore. We're not friends. Like in a space of 2 years, we actually don't speak to these people anymore. We haven't seen them. And they have they have been given a save the date, although they're not going to get a wedding invite because, well, they're not in our lives anymore. But if we waited to make that decision and to let them know, then it would have definitely looked better on us as well. Another thing that is kind of connected to this guest list is the fact that I gave out the roles, I feel, too quickly and without actually analysing everything. Like, I ended up having 4 bridesmaids and a maid of honour, and Connor only has 3 groomsmen and a best man. But I feel like I jumped straight into it, and probably I wouldn't have, not because I don't want any of my bridesmaids to be my bridesmaids or my maid of honor not to be my maid of honor, but I feel like you need to think about it more. Like, I knew I wanted 3 bridesmaids for sure, but I also felt like some people, like, almost, I don't know, like almost you feel like you have to ask them, or you feel like, I don't know how to explain this without offending anyone, but like, if you're old friends with someone that you've gone to school with, but you don't really talk anymore, like your lives are not really interconnected anymore, but because you've been friends for so long and you're inviting them to your wedding, you kind of feel like you have to ask them to be part of the wedding party or like the bridal party. And I feel like if I could go back in time, I would have probably made that decision a bit like, you know, slower, just take my time and think about it, because giving a bridesmaid role or a groomsman role, it is important. And you also need to evaluate the fact that you're giving that role to that person. That means that they kind of have to come to the wedding, and they have to put a lot of effort as well, because like they need to be there for you and they need to support you. And you need to know as well, like, are these people like against getting married? Like, are these people going to support you? Are these people like actually like the people that you want there all of the time? And are they actually going to put effort and make it a less stressful process for you? Because some people could make it more stressful for you. They could start giving you their own rules, or they could start putting you like in a position of where like you have to make certain decisions. Anyway, what I'm saying is, think very well when you pick your wedding party or your bridal party. Like, think very well who you're giving these roles to, because they're important roles. They're going to be there the whole entire wedding planning process, and they're going to be there on your day. So yeah, just make sure that you pick the right people for you. Another regret that I have is the fact that I didn't include everything in the budget. So when I spoke to my wedding planner at the beginning of the process, I gave her a budget and I said, oh, don't worry, it's like just the wedding stuff and our clothes, but everything else we'll do separately. And because in my head, I had that figure they gave to her, I forgot that figure didn't include hen do, stag do, our flights to Italy, our accommodation when we're in Italy. And I know it sounds silly, guys. It might sound silly that I didn't think of these things, but every time I looked at our budget and our savings, I was like, oh yeah, that's achievable. And then I forgot that on top of those things, there is other things that weren't included in the budget, and we should have had like a different budget set aside for those things. So like my hen do and kind of stag do are going to be quite expensive, and we didn't have a budget for that. Like, of course, we've been able to save and things, but I wish I just had like a bigger budget, or like the same budget but included those things. So like maybe it would have cut some things off the wedding, but I wouldn't have fallen short, because sometimes I'm like, now, oh, I thought I was only going to spend this much for my wedding, but now I'm spending this much for my wedding, because the hen do and the stag do are part of the wedding, and the flights are part of the wedding, the accommodation is part of the wedding, and I didn't count for some of that stuff. Another thing is trying to do too much for people. I know it's always nice to be there for your friends and family and try to help as much as possible. And with our wedding being in Italy, I've made a website and I've had a lot of information there for people. And I feel like we've been trying to help everyone as much as possible, because we're trying to make it a smooth, effortless vacation and process for people. But I feel like we put in too much effort and we're getting stressed out for things that are not even part of the wedding. Like, I'm getting stressed out for how much people are paying for the flights. Like, I am out there searching for people's flights and sending it to them and saying like, what do you think about this one? What do you think about that one? And like, I'm doing it for friends and family. And like, for some people, I actually went and bought the flights for them. And I understand that not everyone travels and not everyone knows these things, but then you get people that spend a lot of money on the flights and you feel like it's your fault. You feel like, oh my God, like, you're spending this much because I picked that location. If I picked a different location, maybe you wouldn't have had to spend all this money. If I picked a different date, maybe if it wasn't like in full, like, September, which is like a hot month, maybe if I did it like end of September. And I feel like I'm too caring and I care too much about these details, and I feel like Con and I are definitely doing too much for people. Like, we booked all the hotel rooms for everyone, and I've literally had to be on the phone messaging people like, can you confirm your dates? Can you confirm how many people? Can you confirm what type of room you want? Having to write everyone down and then booking it with the hotel. So like we had like a proper like list to send out to the hotel, and we knew that everyone was booked up and they had no issues because we were doing it for them. I feel like if I would go back in time, I would just say to everyone, this is the hotel. You go ahead and book it for yourself. How many days you want, how many rooms you want, like whatever. You do it for yourself, because I got involved in way too much planning. There wasn't even wedding planning. It's literally like planning a vacation for our family and friends. Which another thing I wish I didn't do as quickly is share our plans with people. You know, sometimes I would tell someone I've invited this person, and then they would go ahead and tell this person like, oh yeah, we'll go to the wedding together, and I'm like, oh my god, like now I can't, like it wasn't planned that I was going to invite that person, but now because I told someone else that someone else told them, and it kind of creates that weird awkward thing. But it's not just about that, it's about every kind of thing that you're planning. For example, I could say to someone, oh my god, we've decided to buy a present for all the bridesmaids and the groomsmen, and then you set that expectation and you can't not do it. Like once you said it to someone, you have to stick to it and you have to do it. Like yes, you could say we've changed our mind, we don't have a budget for it anymore, but it's not how it really works. Like once you say to someone, oh my god, there is going to be an open bar, you have to have an open bar. Once you say to someone there is going to be fireworks, you have to have fireworks. Like I feel like it's almost like once you share your plans, you have to have them set in stone. You almost have to basically like have your quote and pay the deposit for that vendor, for that activity, before you say to everyone like, oh my god, we're gonna have activities and we're gonna have this and we're gonna have that. Like I feel like you need to take a moment and remember who you're sharing that information with, because if that information is just an idea and it gets out to like all the people coming to your wedding, you've then set an expectation. About expectations, that's another thing. I wish I could go back in time and set less expectations for me in my head. I had so many expectations from our wedding and everything. Like in my head, it's massive. And in my head, I was going to be able to do it all. And then when I actually realized how much things cost these days, I'm like, are you joking? Like for us to have fireworks, like a 5-minute firework display is over 2,000 euros. Like what? I didn't even think that was a thing. Like I honestly had no idea that's what the cost of that was. And yeah, when I think about it, I'm like, oh my god, these things are crazy. Like I didn't count for all of these things, and I always imagine my wedding having fireworks, and I set that expectation in my head, and now I have to be like, I'm not doing it because we can't afford it and it's too expensive, and I'm not spending that much money for 5 minutes. But I wish I set less expectations in my head and imagined my wedding day like just with the basic stuff, because I feel like I put too much pressure on things. And now when people are turning around to me and say, actually you can't really do that, or actually that's a bit too expensive for your budget, I'm like, oh, I really thought I could do that. Like I had in my head like it was planned, like I imagined it like that, and now what if it's not like that anymore? So these are all of my wedding planning regrets and things that I would do differently. I would definitely do all of these things differently, or I wish I had the knowledge I have now and I could go back in time, but that's not possible. And I'm really embracing it, and I made my peace. This is how it's gone. This is what it's meant to be like for us, and I know we're gonna have the best day, and I know it's gonna be great, but I just wanted to share these things with you, because if you are in the wedding planning process and you are at the beginning, then you can avoid making the mistakes the way I did. I hope you find them useful and helpful. If you did find anything they like you would do differently or you don't agree with, let me know in the comments, because I do like having a discussion and seeing different points of view. Like I don't mind you guys letting me know your point of view and how you've experienced your wedding planning process. So yeah, Remember, if you like this kind of content, subscribe to my channel because I will post a lot more, and there's going to be a lot more wedding content, especially getting closer and closer to the wedding. I'm really looking forward to it. Remember to leave a like as well if you liked the video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.